Hey guys, Paul here, and this is another episode of Game Dev Paradise. All right, so what are we going to talk about today? Today it's going to be hopefully a very simple and easy to follow video. We're going to add an upgrade to the game, to Void Destroyer 2. So an upgrade is something that the player can install to a ship. So just to demo that really quick, let's open up Void Destroyer 2. So the end result is when you let's just get to the point there. It's good. End result is when in this screen there'll be another upgrade, just like these ones, like ammo capacity, refire rate booster, armor plating, things like that. So the upgrade will be additional fuel. So doubling the fuel. So the upgrade's going to be double fuel upgrade. And just to kind of back up for those of you who aren't familiar with Void Destroyer 2, in Void Destroyer 2 there's a fuel mechanic that makes you travel faster. It's a boost, so it only adds to your speed. Your regular speed is pretty fast, especially in a little fighter. But if you hit this primary burn or secondary burn, you travel much faster, but you use up fuel here. So that's our goal, right? So double fuel upgrade, pretty simple stuff. So I think this is a pretty good fit for Game Dev Paradise. It's also something that I've been meaning to add for a while. This upgrade isn't like revolutionary or earth-shaking, but it could help some players to be like better traders or better pirates, escaping from enemies, or just to cut down on travel time in the game. The game doesn't have a whole lot of travel time, but in a larger ship, it could be a little longer than I like. So this upgrade will give players another choice where to spend their upgrade potential of their ships. And I think that's going to be really cool. The thing with large ships is that large ships don't have enough upgrades. So I'm kind of looking forward to installing this one. Alrighty, so here we are. What we want to do is lay down some groundwork, some more code here. Ship upgrade. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go here. This is the code that defines upgrades. This code, this upgrades get read into via this data structure here. There's a section for upgrades. So let's look at an upgrade here. Speed upgrade. There it is. So basically, upgrades are really simple in Void Destroyer 2. They're basically these multipliers. Speed change percent 1.65. Pretty easy, right? So this tag gets read here, and then it becomes part of the data that the game engine is able to see. There it is, that particular. So, like I said, this is going to should be pretty simple piece of code here. So what we're going to do, speed change percent, we're going to do float. We're going to add another piece of data into the game engine. I'm going to say fuel change percent, just following our previous structure. I'm going to go ahead and hit compile. And then here, we have to make sure that this piece of data is read in. There it is. Now this piece of data is going to be read in under this tag. And then here we want to define it, the default value, which is going to be 0. 0.0. You always want to do this, otherwise, if you don't define a value, then the compiler might choose a value by itself. So it might be, whoops. So a value that the compiler might choose might be this, might be this, you know, might be all kinds of craziness. So you always want to make sure to define a value here in some languages. Now in other languages, the values are defined, like they'll be 0 or true or false or whatever. But even then, you might want to like make sure to define a value. In this case, it's 0. By default it's 0. So by default, these upgrades don't do any change at all. All right. So while we're compiling, what we're gonna do, we're gonna define this upgrade in this upgrade. We're gonna create a new file. What I usually do, I just do a copy and paste. So what I do here is fuel capacity upgrade. Let's call it that. And now we're going to say fuel capacity, and call it additional fuel capacity. Every in the way I do things, everything needs its own object ID to be unique. So we're going to call it fuel cap 00. The 00 there is just in case I do a additional fuel capacity 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. The category is propulsion, and that's just to sort it out for the player which list to view it in. Cost is going to be, let's say, 5,000, so pretty cheap. Actually, let's make it 2,000. Pretty cheap, but we're also going to add a percent of the ship of 2.5%. So if a ship costs 10,000 credits, it's going to be a base cost of 250. And then I'm so bad at math, guys, that I actually have to get a calculator out. Times 0.025. 250. So for a ship costing 10,000 credits, this would cost under 3,000 credits. But for a ship costing 100,000 credits, this would cost over 25,000 credits. So that's why I have this here. It's a really easy way of having upgrades cost a good amount per ship. And then here we can write utilizes space on a ship to accommodate additional fuel reserves. And what I like to do is I like to use this these descriptions for upgrades to kind of explain to the player what certain mechanics in the game do. Chances are, like, the newer player is going to read this. A later player is just going to know what additional fuel capacity is. But if a newer player reads this, I want to like explain what fuel does. Ships don't need additional. Yeah, so how are we going to phrase this? Fuel stored on ships is used to boost existing overworld travel speed. Additional fuel means additional time spent in boosted speed. I'll probably change this a little bit later. I tend to mess with these, but I don't want you guys being bored with me typing stuff out. So here, this value is going to be fuel change percent, this new value we created. Bam. I'm going to make this 2.0, so the speed change percent is going to be actually 200%. And that's it as far as this fuel capacity upgrade. So now this is going to be a sort of a universal upgrade So if we go here, always available upgrade, I'm going to copy this tag, paste it here. So every ship is going to have this upgrade available. Otherwise, what I would have to do, I'd have to go to all these ships, and in their upgrade lists add it, which I could do, but in this case, every ship has fuel, so this upgrade being available for every ship just makes sense, and it saves me time. All right, so I believe propulsion, that's cool. So now what we want to do is we actually want to code this upgrade in. So we're going to go to the ship code, the overworld ship code here. And here we have fuel, we have max fuel, these kinds of stats. So this is what we're going to be altering here, this max fuel. Let's go ahead and copy this. So here under calculate max fuel, this is where we need to look at the upgrade here. Let's take a look at here. So by default, the max fuel is just taken from the ship info, and then we compare it to every ship in our fleet, and if a ship in our fleet has more fuel, then that's the actual max fuel. So here what we want to do is we want to loop through all the upgrades, ship upgrades, all right, going to loop through all the upgrades, and if ship upgrades at, there's our code already compiled, at X fuel change percent is greater than 0.01, then we take max fuel and multiply it by fuel change percent. And that's about it. That's really all we need here. So this is pretty easy stuff. Let's go ahead, let's compile this. And we can actually test it. We can test it right away, which is really cool. Yeah, this might end up being a pretty fast game dev paradise for once. So let's take a look. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Pretty sure that should work, but of course the best way to test is to test. Some people might disagree with me and might look through the code, double check everything, but actually I saved that for the last step. Alright, so here we are. Let's go to current ship. Let's go to the propulsion tab. Here's this additional fuel capacity upgrade, and again guys, this is being read via this text file that we created earlier. So that part works, that's great. Here we're gonna install the upgrade, but we have no room. This is sort of a balancing factor. We have no room here, so we're gonna have to uninstall something. We are going to uninstall the shield generator, and now technically we can install the upgrade. But what I want to do first is actually I want to undock, just to make sure that fuel is still 10. There it is, fuel is 10, so everything is working correctly without the upgrade. Now let's go ahead and dock and install the upgrade. Alright, this upgrade is installed. let's go ahead, undock, and let's see if we have 10 fuel. There we go. Fuel is 20. I'm sorry, 20. So it's double of 10. This is really nice, really fast upgrade. For a fighter, it's not, it's not such a big deal because fighters are already fast, currently in a fighter. But for a larger ship, for a slower ship, this could be very, very significant. So let's see. Do we have a refueling platform somewhere? There's one. Let's go to it. Let's refuel. Actually, there's one closer here. We're not even going to use up all our fuel, are we? There we go. Let's go ahead and let's refuel just to make sure that works as well. There we go. We're refueling. Some nice little particle effects. Spinning. I think this is kind of cool. Personally, if I do say so myself. All right, we refueled. And we're back at 20 fuel, so everything's working really well. Good stuff. So what's interesting is, interesting, to me it's interesting, is that while that upgrade didn't take too long to do, we're not done. Because there's these little things we want to make sure we want to test. For example, here in this upgrade screen, when I choose an upgrade, it actually tells me the armor change, tells me what it used to be, what it's upgraded, which is pretty cool. But here in this new upgrade, I don't get this text yet. So here for the afterburner, I get this text, but here I don't. So what I want to do now is I want to add polish, and I want to add this text here. So let's go ahead and do that. And that is how I usually do it, just to save myself time, is actually open up the tools I have for editing the GUI. And then I just happen to be in it. Then I look up where I have the text, search. There we go. So here's like the shield change, armor change, speed change, afterburner capacity. So we're just going to copy paste this. And what we're going to do is we're going to test for fuel change percent. That's good. So here, I also want to add negative values. So what would a negative value be? So if we have this, just want to do the math here. So if we have 10 fuel, does this math make sense? I gotta do this. So 10 times negative 50, what is this? 10 times negative 5 is 9.5. I guess this math makes sense, so that's fine. 10 times negative, whoops. Nope, times 0.5 and then make it negative. Negative 5 fuel. So you can't have a negative number here. So this is incorrect. So yeah, I was actually right here. You can't have a negative number. It has to be positive. And I'm actually wrong here. You can't have a negative number here. I'll probably go through this a little bit later and I'll fix this. Delete that. fuel change percent. Fuel change percent. There we go. Base fuel. Max fuel upgraded. Max fuel. Max fuel. Should be it. See if it works. Of course, we test things. Let's see what happens if we get the nice little text there. Okay, so fuel change percent 200%, base fuel is 10, upgrade is 20. Yeah, so everything works. We have this nice little tooltip for the player, you know, to be able to tell, hey, you know, is this upgrade worth it? So one thing I want to talk about before we kind of jump off of here, if you notice, this upgrade is pretty significant, 200%, you know, so twice. You know, sometimes in games you see upgrades like 10%, 15%, 20% increase. But in Void Destroyer 2, I try to have upgrades to be really significant. You know, because there's not a whole lot of upgrade slots. Like here, there's only one in a small fighter. I try to make this upgrade really significant. Like, hey, you know, if you're thinking about afterburner capacity, the capacity here is 215%. If you're thinking about getting faster, the change speed percent is 175%. So these upgrades are really significant just to get the player having this sort of big boost. You know, a ship is twice as fast, or it has a shield now, so it might have a third more health, you know, or a defensive turret, or twin turrets that have twice the firepower. You know, that's sort of my philosophy, is to make upgrades very significant, where one ship might be much different than the another. So what I want to do is I also want to test whether this works in fleets. So I'm going to buy this Bonnie, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy another Bonnie to my fleet. Actually, you know what? I want to load up a save, but in a different base, just so I have a little more flexibility. So first, what I want to do is I want to install this upgrade here. Let's remove the shield generator. Let's do this upgrade. We want to buy another ship. This is a gunship. Can't afford it. Can't afford that. Let's buy just a really basic fighter, buy it to our fleet. And now let's change ships. So now my main ship is this Gremlin, my fleet ship is this Reaper, and I want to make sure that I'm still getting the additional fuel capacity of the Reaper, because again, fuel is calculated based on the maximum fuel amount, so that larger ships give you a bigger boost, basically, or in this case, a ship with additional fuel capacity. So yeah, fuel is 20. That's great. Let's go ahead and let's self-destruct this other ship. So now our fuel should be back to 10. There it is. So everything seems to be working. Let's see. Any other polish I need to do? I don't think so. But there's a chance that I need to do. So as you guys see, adding this upgrade was pretty fast. You know, what, 20 minutes? Not sure. 30 minutes. Hopefully it was easy for you guys to follow. It wasn't too complicated. If it was, don't worry about it. Like following people's code is can be kind of tricky sometimes. But the reason why this was so easy to do is because there was code already in here, you know, like calculating max fuel. And I calculate max fuel every time, you know, you buy a new ship or you trade a ship or a ship gets destroyed or a ship gets added. You know, so this code already existed. So it was just a matter of adding this multiplier here, right here, sorry. Taking max fuel, taking the change percent and multiplying it back in there. And then of course comparing it against the other ships. So that's kind of what happens with games. You know, the more you work on them, the simpler things become to add if you do it the right way. If you don't do it the right way and your code is just horribly complicated, um, then it's going to take you more time to add stuff. But in most cases, I don't think that's the case. Although a beginner programmer might have that issue, later on they're bound to kind of just clean stuff up. Kind of depends where their interest lies. Maybe an artist or a musician cares more about music and makes their music really nice and streamlined and easy to create, and maybe their code isn't as efficient. I don't know. You know, I'm not a musician or an artist, so I'm just speculating there, guys. No offense to anybody. So let's see. I guess we should wrap up. You know, this has been another episode of Game Dev Paradise. We've added an upgrade that doubled the fuel. Hopefully I'll do another Game Dev Paradise about another upgrade, maybe a little more complex one, so you guys see that as well. Thank you for watching. If you like this, be sure to let me know in the comments or leave a like or subscribe, you know, all that good stuff, just to kind of keep the community growing. If you know somebody who might be interested in game design, you know, as a hobbyist or as just a player who's interested in how games made, be sure to let them know. So I really appreciate that. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you later.